Hello Virgo! All my announcements are in my About section, so I can get straight into the reading. I've pre-shuffled the cards, so I'm going to go ahead and start laying it out for you. This is a love reading for the month of July, coming from the perspective of your person. Hopefully you can get some insight so you know how to deal with the things that come up. And I hope things are going well in your love life, but can't hurt to have some insight. Yes, it is the 4th of July and there are fireworks outside, but you know what? I thought I'd work with it. I hope it's not too distracting, but oh, I like it. I kind of like the idea because fireworks are exciting. Don't we want fireworks in our love life, right? Do we want something drab, boring? No. Okay, let's see what's happening here. Okay, so I see your person holding on to one wand to keep them a little bit stabilized, and they're not looking at the other one because they seem deep in contemplation about where their life is going, which kind of makes sense. This is the Two of Wands. Wait, here we go. And they seem pretty intent on that. Now you could be involved in what they're looking at and what they're considering, but I feel my body is sensing that you're not in their focus. The passion they feel for you is not in their focus right now, and that this other wand that they're not holding on to is something that's going on, which might be why you're here, because a lot of times people are here because of something that's the communications not quite working for. This is in the upright, and this is not a bad thing. Sometimes, if you don't want someone who's hyper focused on you for their happiness anyway, right? Okay. And the Hangman is always an interesting card, and it is the one of two major arcana here. So this is definitely a stronger energy, although your overall energy is also a major arcana here. So, but we'll get into that. We'll touch base about that when it comes up. Now, it looks like your person is, not only are they looking at their world, they seem to be looking at it from a new perspective. They're trying to see things differently. And that also makes sense given the current situation in the world. Things aren't working the way we're accustomed to. And I think that it's a sign of a healthy person to get in the hangman position. I think they're possibly a little stuck, but sometimes you need to stop and take a pause to get to the place you want to go, because this person seems to want to go to union with you. It looks like a communication is likely. Now, it's not necessarily a communication card, but something is going to happen that like an invitation perhaps to meet and enjoy some time together, and to enjoy the connection that you have, because clearly this person feels connected to you, even if their focus right now is on other things. They haven't, just because you're on the back burner doesn't mean that they're not going to be planning on some time with you. And these are all in the upright. I mean, the hangman in the upright is sort of a weird idea because they're upside down in the upright, but you know what I mean, right? Okay. Now, in this next line of concepts, I have the Hermit. And the Hermit has always been a difficult character for me. I love the Hermit dearly. He suggests that your person is needing some time, because oftentimes the Hermit, the way I read the Hermit, I have a very strong relationship with the Hermit, is that there's something about what's going on in their lives that they haven't been able to grasp on an intellectual or on a level that they can focus on it. Something inside is chomping at the bit to gain some clarity in order to sort it out. But you can't even sort something out if you can't identify it. And the Hermit suggests you're asking the wrong questions. Spend some time in contemplation and start, maybe using some of those thinking outside the box ideas, because the only way you're going to approach a situation wisely is to be able to identify what is actually going on and not your current perception of it. The next card, also in the upright, I never particularly love to see that card in the upright, but there is something good about this card that no other card can tell you, and I always focus on it. To me, this is like the winter solstice, and if you've heard my readings, it generally always feels that way when I see it, because this person, it's like the death card. You just there's nothing worse that could happen. You're dead in the water here. You've been stabbed in the back. Now, in this particular case, though, since we are talking about your person's, it's not you literally, I am talking about in general. So therefore, your person is dealing with something where they have been just completely drained, and they are at the end of their rope on so many levels that they can't even, they have no fight in them. But the whole idea of the winter solstice is the idea that, the darkest day of the year means you can only go up from here. So no wonder, yeah, your person's got something really heavy, because I don't know if you know my readings, but I work in pieces of threes, although I can see connections this way, and I can see an overall sense, but for the most part, in its most basic sense, I see in threes. The darkness here and what it takes for your person to rise above it. I love that in this particular case, with these kinds of cards among a Hermit, it suggests to me that no matter how bad it is, your person's capable of growing and getting that toolbox necessary to deal with this, because this kind of energies is the kind of things that some people want to just give up in life over. I don't know what your person's going through, but I will tell you, if you're here because you don't know why they're not talking to you that much, or that they're not letting you in, well, there's a good chance that what they're dealing with is just so heavy that it's hard for them to see you. But in the back of their mind, no matter what they're going through, they have this spot that you belong in, and you might be that one bright spot in their lives, but they're just so heavy that you don't know this, right? So just be patient, because I'm not even sure it's always wise to communicate with others when you're in this Hermit energy, because if you try to explain something to someone that you yourself haven't really been able to sort out yet, it can be messy business. It could frustrate you, and they could come off as a crazy person and all they're trying to do is let you in. But since they're a jumble of thoughts that don't add up, they're going to come across that way. So if what communications you have had seem that way, just give them the benefit of the doubt, because they're working in this Hermit energy. So they are okay in the mind. They have not lost their mind. They're not a mess. They're not drama queen, king, whatever. If they have been trying to communicate under that would be probably how they came off. So keep in mind that there's a lot more to them than meets the eye. Okay. In this next conceptual line, it's interesting because, in these they were all upright, and these are all upside down. You can't make this up. So All right. This for me, it is, if you get to know my readings, there are certain cards, like this one's the winter solstice to me. Oh, you know what? Before I leave, I didn't really talk about what this card, I just pointed out the darkness of it, and I didn't quite point out the Five of Pentacles. This is when you feel like all hope is lost and you don't know where to go or where to turn for help. Hopefully your person doesn't come running to you and come as if they're needy or codependent or whatever. But if they do, it's because they're really hanging on. They're really hanging on. So just be careful with their feelings, okay? It looks like they're about to change their worldview. So back to what I was saying, if you get to know my readings, you'll see I have certain things that mean cards that really speak to me, and I have my own sense of what they are about. And this one for me, now it can be other things and I'll feel it in my body, but 9 times out of 10 when I look at this card, what I feel is worldview. People, especially today, has become more and more of an issue where we're in conflict over worldview because of all the perception wars that are going on. It seems to be that the moral war is all being fought on the perception level, and it's very disorienting to people's identities. Their sense of identity is being rocked. Now, you don't have to agree with me. It's fine if you have a different, this is how I'm reading it, but perhaps if my ideology is a little different from yours, you can adapt what I'm saying to how you perceive it, and hopefully that will work for you. But it looks like they're not ready to change the way they think, but they're struggling. I don't know that they will. I'm not saying that they're going to all of a sudden go crazy and start voting opposite of everything they said they were about or anything like that. But they're struggling with some perception war here. And one of the things that you're going to notice about this card, and it is the Five of Wands, and is that it's not really, they're not fighting to the death. A lot of times these are verbal sparring, or playful fighting. It's more of a, top each other, or, that's why I think of the perception war. This card is the Ten of Wands, which is the quintessential. Now again, this is in the upside down, so not the upright. And since it's in the reverse, your person is not only thinking about switching up a little on their worldview or maybe augmenting it, they're not ready to lay down the burden yet. I do think they're trying to move some things out of the way so that they can rest a bit from this whole situation, but they're not there yet, and they're not ready to lay down that burden. To be honest with you, the Two of Swords means they kind of feel like their choices are bad no matter what, and that would explain a lot of the conflict with the worldview. Your person may feel that no matter what they choose right now, and I don't know how much it affects them, whether it's coronavirus and all the situation around health, or whether or not it's the racial lines, or if it's something else. It seems like perhaps it's more personal for this person. Something's going on in their lives. I don't know if in some cases it might be that they have a family member or they know somebody that is fighting coronavirus or something like that. So it might be more personal for them. Some people are at home safe, and they, wearing their masks out and just staying strong through a difficult time in our history. But for some, it's not that simple. It's, you think about the the people in the front lines, you know, it's not easy for them. So your person is definitely going through something quite difficult. So hopefully it's not an actual death in the family, but whatever it is, just try to remember that they do see you. This is in the upright, all right? And the overall energy for your person is that they're coming in, and they will come in strong. They are coming for you. They are going to be this amazing presence for you. They're just not there yet. It seems to me like this is who they are in the overall sense, if that makes sense. All right. That's the reading, but let's talk to the spirit guides and see what they have to say. I'm using the Island Time Wellness cards, and they give some great insight. This is insight for you. We've pretty much already talked about your person here, so this insight or advice or just a little more insight is more about you. Okay, mask, not showing true feelings, hide, personify, pretend. Now, in a darker energy, it could be diluting and gaslighting. But I want you to remember that you know, these cards have a range of possibility. So I don't want you to see the darkest energy and say that that's what you're doing, because of course not. If you're here and you're trying to understand your person, I don't think that the energy you're working in is in gaslighting, okay? It just doesn't stand to reason. But what it is telling me is that you probably have been a little bit confused about your person's feelings towards you, and you've had to tiptoe around them a bit. And that's what I sense that you're dealing with. And for the love readings, I like to pull out my personal deck, which I have my own writings here, and see what it's kind of what your person wants to say. Oh, here we go. I should have been more honest about how I feel about you. Okay, you know what? That makes sense. Because your person is thinking about this and they do want this, but look at all these other cards. You've probably been seeing a lot of this and not any of this. So you may have had to, be a little careful with them, not knowing if you are in the car with them completely, that sort of thing. And it's not a bad thing. Sometimes that's the kindest thing you can do. So I applaud you, because masks are not always, a deception. Okay, so that's your reading, Taurus. I hope that really helped. And if this is not your story, I suggest going to listen to your Venus placement. I tend to work strongly in the sun sign, but I identify strongly with the Venus placements when it comes to love. Please hit like and subscribe if you got anything from this. And if this is your story and you want an extra card pulled, or you have some questions, feel free to say something in the comments, and I'd be happy to talk a little more with you. I'm available to talk. All right. Till next time, you have a good July.